This is a couple of days old, but I saw this the other day. Madison Cawthorn went on CNN, which, by the way, is not a good move. Okay, Madison Cawthorn is he's a person. We've talked about him on this channel before. I actually forget which state he's from. Hold on, I'm feeling bad right now. North Carolina. There we go. He is younger than me. He is 25 years old. He is the disabled guy who had some really positive words to say about Hitler, you know? And he is the guy who had who was apparently a sexual assault Tyrannosaurus Rex back at his college, which he didn't graduate from. And more than 100 people at his college all signed a petition saying that he is a sexual predator and is not fit to do so much as work at a fucking groundskeeper at a park. Not that that's not a worthwhile and decent job, but he shouldn't be doing anything anywhere near other people. And then he went ahead and he became a congressperson. So, nice. We got a Nazi frat boy rapist. And he went on CNN.
You aim to, quote, rise above the partisan fray. Yet you are one of 138 Republicans who voted to decertify the election results. You actually did that even...
Oh, yeah, he also lied about being in the military. That's true. Oh, yeah, he lied about being in the military. There's a lot of wacky stuff going on about this guy, you know? Man, the American dream is real. You really can get anywhere. Several women came forward accusing him of sexual aggressive behavior, sexual misconduct, and sexual assault. Katrina Krilikis described an incident where she was 17, Cawthorn was 19, which Cawthorn pressed her in his lab, attempted to kiss her forcefully twice, but she resisted. Cawthorn did not deny the allegations. Question the timing of her allegation. After Krilikis made hers, 3 other women made allegations of sexual misconduct against Cawthorn in court with forcible touching and kissing. On October 17th, a group of alumni in Patrick Henry College released a public letter accusing him of sexually predatory behavior while a student there, as well as of vandalism and lying. It originally had 10 signatures, now over 150. Yeah, you know, throwing it out there. Does it have the military lying thing here? Is that in here? No, it seems not. He called a journalist a race traitor while working with Cory Booker. Is that true? Love it here, by the way. Booker calls Cawthorn racist over his website accusing Senator of working to ruin white men. Wait, this isn't quite the same. So Booker called Cawthorn racist because Cawthorn's website accused Booker of trying to ruin white people. Wait, hold on. In a statement quoted by The Times, Cawthorn convolutedly expressed regrets for having unfairly implied I was criticizing Cory Booker, which is notable in that this is not an apology for attacking the journalist in question, Tom Fiedler, as a traitor to his race. Oh, shit. We're kind of spelling it appropriately. There we go. Cawthorn slams journalist for working for non-white males like Cory Booker. Yep. Literal just race traitor accusations. Holy shit. Yeah, full-on Nazi shit. Pretty crazy, huh? We have him. We have Marjorie Taylor Greene. We got a lot of people, you know? We got a lot of cool people in Congress these days. All right, anyway, let's continue.
And after the...
Actually, I'm going to take it back, okay? You can get away with a lot if you look like this, okay? This is like the chiseled face of every college frat boy who raped a chick while she was drunk and got away with it because nobody would tell on them and they were a good polo player, so the school wouldn't step against them, okay? I think, you know how like a certain type of mustaches and glasses is like the pedo look? I feel like this look should be something, you know? I feel like we should recognize this.
The January 6th riots. So how does that help you reaching your goal of reaching across the aisle and working with the Biden administration?
The military service.
Well, I'll tell you, as despicable as those events on January 6th were, it didn't actually affect my thought process on objecting to the election. You see, I wasn't objecting to President Biden himself, and I wasn't doing it on behalf of...
I take it back. This is literally just a square-jawed young white guy with like a clean-cut hair. I don't think this is fine. I take it. If there are people watching who look like this, it's okay. I love you. There's nothing wrong with you. Okay?
President Trump. I was doing it on behalf of the Constitution. I think in six key swing states, particularly in Wisconsin, you can see that the state legislature, who is the sole body that is supposed to dictate the law that circumvents and is around all of our election laws, was circumvented. They subverted the state legislatures there, and I believe that's a constitutional infraction.
Tell us, what are the specific examples you saw of fraud? Because when you think of fraud, you think of a vote, you're slipping one past the election official, or a vote was stolen, somehow it didn't count. Did you see that specifically?
No, Pam, and like I said, that's not the reason I contested the election.
Hold on, so you wanted to throw out millions of votes without actually seeing any concrete evidence of fraud? Because that's what you were doing when you were contesting the election. The intent there was throwing out millions of votes.
Well, I disagree with you on that point. That was not my intent. My intent was to hold up the Constitution, and setting up ballot drop boxes, which is essentially ballot harvesting in Wisconsin, is unconstitutional because the state legislature said they didn't want that.
So you know more than the judge, the Trump-appointed judge, who said that, who actually looked at that case before the election and dismissed the Trump campaign's argument that drop boxes are unconstitutional. And if you would you point to me and where in the Constitution it says that drop boxes are unconstitutional? I don't recall seeing that in the Constitution.
No, so the way that I believe it was unconstitutional is because in Article 1, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution, it states that only state legislatures will mandate the manner in which an election is conducted.
Okay.
Right.
We actually have that on the screen. Go ahead.
Excellent. But when you go into the state of Wisconsin, you see that the state legislature actually voted actively against having vote drop boxes there. And then in the town of Madison, they decided to set them up anyways.
So you're making an obscure case on this. Other constitutional experts say, look, what this says right here, this Article 2 of the Constitution says that the legislature can decide what dictates the electors. And they did decide before this election. The states did decide that the plurality of the vote would dictate who the electors are. So that did actually happen. I'm still confused on the unconstitutional.
Why the skip? Wait, I wanted to see his response to that.
Of drop boxes because a Trump-appointed judge dismissed that argument before the election. But if you would just answer my question. So you said you had 3 constitutional lawyers. What other work did you put in to actually looking at whether there was fraud in this past election? Because as you know, Congressman, and you knew coming on the show, look, you were spouting some really inflammatory claims after the election and before the January 6th riot, okay? You voted even after the riot.
Hold on, this is the full video, so let's skip to the point where it was skipped.
The letter says that you aim to, quote, Article 2 of the Constitution says that the legislature can decide what dictates the electors. And they did decide before this election. The states did decide that the plurality of the vote would dictate who the electors are. So that did actually happen. And I just want to also ask you, what sort of research did you put in? What kind of work did you put in before you decided to make this objection? I'm just curious what you read. Did you actually go to any of the states to look at the voter fraud? What kind of research did you put into this?
No, so we hired 3 constitutional lawyers who looked into this for our campaign. And then the findings that we had is that, as you said, I believe in reading the Constitution through the prism of original intent. And I believe the original intent of the framers of the Constitution was to make sure that the federal government can't exercise overreach and go into these states and dictate our laws of how to run elections.
Except he is okay with voting to have the federal government throw out literally millions and millions of citizens' votes.
Do you think the intent, too, was to throw out millions of votes because of a suspicion, not even concrete evidence, because of evidence, I should say, just because of a suspicion? Do you think that that was what our founders intended?
Well, we do have concrete evidence that there were ballot drop boxes inside of Wisconsin. I don't have the white pages on me, but I would be happy to send that to you.
Right, but I'm still curious because I'm still confused on the unconstitutionality of drop boxes because a Trump-appointed judge dismissed that argument before the election. But if you would just answer my question, so you said you had 3 constitutional lawyers. What other work did you put in to actually looking at whether there was fraud in this past election? Because as you know, Congressman, and you knew coming on the show, look, you were spouting some really inflammatory claims after the election and before the January 6th riot, okay? You voted even after the riot to decertify results, millions of votes. So I'm just wondering what...
Oh, yeah, man. Can you imagine? Right, like, this guy's like, I don't want the federal government involved in this, and I didn't actually promote that riot. That was a terrible, terrible riot. But then after the riot, he still tried, he still pushed for the revocation of those votes. Incredible.
What kind of work did you put into making sure you were rock solid before making those claims and deciding to do that?
Yes, ma'am. So mainly it was going through having these constitutional lawyers look into the state of Wisconsin, the people that were actually supposed to try the case, and then looking at their evidence, and we presented that to the American people. A significant portion of the American people agreed with it. I agreed with it myself, and I believe it was a constitutional infraction, and so that's why I opposed the election. Now, you keep bringing up that I did it even after the January 6th insurrection, which again I think is despicable. And
Notice, by the way, how he opposes the election results in 6 states, all of which were key states that Biden won, but he can only cite one of those states having one edge case, which he is constitutionally concerned with, which was never found to have been an issue, and which a Trump-appointed judge said was no issue.
I absolutely condemn. But the people who changed their vote because of that, I believe they were doing it because of political expedience, either if they were going to contest or if they weren't going to contest. The actions of January 6th do not change what happened in the November election, and I believe what happened in Wisconsin was unconstitutional.
Okay, so you keep focusing on Wisconsin, but there were several battleground states that you contested to, that you talked about. There were several that President Trump had lost. So it's interesting you're focusing on Wisconsin, but would you apply the same issues you had with these battleground states to your own state of North Carolina? Because North Carolina also changed a lot of the rules, even after voters had started voting. Why didn't you have concerns about your own home state of North Carolina?
Well, you know what, Pam, I'm actually not aware of the laws that were changed inside of North Carolina. I believe we had a very safe and a very secure election here.
There were several rules.
There's no reason to contest that.
Yeah, there were several rules.
Congressman from that
one
state,
of which
by
is
the
to
way.
extend when the mail-in ballots could arrive, I believe by around 7 days. That was one, and there were a couple of others as well that were changed even after people started voting. So I'm just wondering, if you're so concerned about these rules being changed with the election, why wouldn't you focus on your own home state of North Carolina? I mean, you're telling me that your concern really is about election integrity, not politics, not the results of the election, right?
That is absolutely correct. I didn't do this for any one man or against any one man.
Okay. So North Carolina, though, the same issues you've had and you've expressed about the battleground states, those are the same issues that are in your own state of North Carolina. And North Carolina actually did have mail-in ballot fraud in 2018. So you're not concerned about your home state and whether you were duly elected by your own standards?
Well, I'll tell you, because of the mail-in ballot fraud that happened in the midterms here in 2018, I believe our election integrity standards here in North Carolina are some of the greatest in the country. I think they should apply this metric all over the country, but that's just my opinion.
So the Democratic-led governor's
office... The rules that you're talking about
office...
that were changed...
Okay, so the Democratic governor and the Democratic-led election board, they all they turned everything around in terms of the concerns about election fraud in North Carolina.
I believe they did. Yes, the election that was actually overturned was a Republican one in 2018.
No, what I'm saying is, after that, there was a Democratic governor, a Democratic election board. You're saying they've turned things around, that things are safer in North Carolina now. So I'm just saying, so you're giving the Democrats credit then for making voting safer in your state, and so that's why you're not worried.
Absolutely. I think our election board here in North Carolina is second to none. I voted for a different person for governor, but I will say that Roy Cooper here in North Carolina did make sure we had a safe and secure election. So when I contested to the election, that was within the constitutional guidelines that the framers had set up. But after I've done that and the electors and the delegates from each state elected Joe Biden as our president, I respect the office. He is my president, and I want to work with him to make sure that we can bring some meaningful change to the American people, although I think he will disagree with most of my policies.
And that's okay. Disagreement of policies is normal. But can you now say that the election was not stolen, that it wasn't a fraudulent election?
Yes, I think I would say that the election was not fraudulent. The Constitution allowed for us to be able to push back as much as we could, and I did that to the amount of the constitutional limits that I had at my disposal. So now I would say that Joseph R. Biden is our president.
And you have no regrets?
No, I do not have any regrets.
Dude, she handled him like a child. She handled him like a child. They're so weaselly, but he's not even smart enough to not come off like a coward while talking to her. If he was at least smart enough, he could have wormed his way out of some of those questions, but it's like, I think it was a fraud, and I contest these states where Biden won because of this. And she's like, well, that wasn't an issue. It was found by a Trump judge. And also, that same shit happened in your state. And he's like, well, when it happened in my state, it wasn't a big deal. Okay, so was it a fraud? So you don't think it was fraud? No, it was not a fraud. I have no regrets. Like, nothing, just empty. Frat brains, bro. Is that mean to say? I'm sure there are good people who go to frats. But he's frat brain, dude. Just empty. Dude's been told from day one of his life that he can do absolutely anything. Probably has no empathy for other people. Got up to where he is now, because neither do his voters, or just because they're real stupid. And yeah, just money and privilege, and just now he's a fucking congressperson, and he knows nothing. He didn't even know the laws implemented in his state while he was running for Congress. And then he goes on CNN, he just looks like a kid, He's younger than me. He's 25 years old. He's maybe 2 to 1.5 years younger than me. Younger than me. It's crazy. I respect the neck game, though. That neck, that shit just goes straight down. I respect it. You know? He's in a wheelchair, too. It's a lot harder to work out if you're in a wheelchair. It's, you're in a wheelchair. It's harder. But still. Crazy. Anyway, I didn't have much to say over the course of that conversation, just because I thought you guys would appreciate that. What we need to do, we need to hang this around their necks, like for their entire, like forever. Like every time they come on, like we need to remind them of their dishonesty. Anytime we get a chance to, like, hey, yeah, you're the guy who protested the election. Oh, hey, you want to talk about that? We just push them on it for like 5 minutes. They look like a fucking idiot. But hold on. Vosh, no, it's actually not. I'm in a wheelchair. It's an arm workout. I imagine being in a wheelchair would make it harder to work out, just because it's like, oh, I got to wheel my way around the equipment, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm sure you can get used to anything. And to me, it looks like it'd be more difficult, but maybe I could up my power level by breaking both of my legs, so I'll be in a wheelchair, and then I'll be yoked. I don't know. It's, yeah. Who knows, right? Oh yeah. When you use a wheelchair, your arms get bigger, right? Because unless it's an electric chair. But whatever. Okay, enough.